Hi, how's everybody doing? This is Jack of Jack Fundamentals Coaching. I am a local talent coach who uses a talent or a strengths-based perspective to help people meet outcomes, gain the edge in certain areas that they may find themselves in. I work with groups, individuals, teams, and I also work a lot with managers and helping them create a strengths-based approach to their team and help develop and implement things based around talent, not just based around skills. I also do a lot with conflict resolution. So today what I wanted to do is have a little bit of fun and try to guess Drew Deener's top 5 signature themes. He is a local radio personality who is stationed at ESPN's 93.9 The Ville right here on U of L's campus, and he covers all things Louisville. It is a sports show, but he gets into things that aren't exactly sports related and definitely covers all of the big news that comes out of U of L. And like I said, I listen to him quite a bit, so I find it very interesting to try to guess people's top 5s who I don't know their top 5, and I want to try to see if I can figure out and pick up on patterns that may lead to a talent. Before I do that, I just want to take a minute and let everyone know that I'm very thankful for all the support that I got on the last video. Several people shared it, commented, liked it. So I just want to say thank you so much for the support and being interested in what I do. So thank you very much. Hopefully today's a little bit different than last time since we're going to be a little bit more lighthearted on things. But without further ado, what I'll do is I'll explain exactly what each talent is. But first I will tell you what I think Drew Deener's top 5 are if he were to take the assessment. If you're interested in taking the assessment, you can go to gallupstrengthscenter.com and you can fill out the assessment from there. It's $15 plus you get the ebook, and that will give you your top 5. And there are 34 themes. I'll be talking about 7 of them today that are in and around, I think, Drew Deener. But you can take it and get your results if you're curious enough after watching the video. So, I think Drew Deener's number 1 talent is restorative. I think his second one would be communication. 3, analytical. 4, competition. And 5, activator. I've also got 2 that I think are runners-up, possibly. And those are context and developer. And I'll go through why I think those. I do need to be honest a little bit. The chances of me getting this right are just astronomical. So once you have taken the StrengthsFinder, the chances of you having the same top 5 as somebody else is 1 in 33 million. That's the same top 5 in the same order as 1 in 33 million. The chances of having the same top 5 but maybe in different order is still over 1 in 256,000. So I'm really taking a pretty big stab in the dark at this point, but I thought it'd be fun to give it a shot. So, restorative, communication, analytical, competition, and activator. If you listen to Drew Deener, or you listen to people talk about Drew Deener, he has a reputation for being very aware of things that are not going well, things that are slow, things that are not correct, issues in the community that need to be talked about, problems in people's choices. He is very aware and has a very strong vision for things that are problematic, and that's restorative. So restorative is really strong for him. I'm willing to bet it is his number 1. Definitely probably in his top 5. If you'd listen to him talk about things that, like, just the last couple of days when he was going to the ACC Media Days, he was tweeting out about his frustration being stuck on the plane. He doesn't tweet that often from what I could tell, but he had like 4 or 5 in a row that were just complaining about the airline. He also complained about coffee and waiting in line and dealing with people in the coffee lines, and so Tyler Mountain Water hooked him up with coffee whenever he wants it. So in that case, it worked out. One thing that restoratives are really great at is being very courageous when things are problematic. So if there's an issue, there's a problem, people with restorative almost come alive. They revel in being able to come up with solutions. So I think that if I knew a little bit more about Drew Deener, ask him a few questions, I'm sure that I'd probably see some patterns in that area. Second is communication. Obviously, being on the radio, having communication as a talent is somewhat of a no-brainer. He likes to talk. He likes to express. He likes to bring to an audience what they want to see. He's constantly making choices about what is covered because of the audience, which is kind of a normal radio temperament, I assume. But what makes me think he's got communication is because of his preoccupation with correct grammar. He wants people to say things correctly. He doesn't want people calling in and saying things that aren't the right word or using words incorrectly. He stays off the text line because he doesn't want to deal with people's poor grammar. Those are things that people with communication really that resonates with them, because they can't understand why you would say something incorrectly when all you've got to do is fix it. So they want the communication and the message to be the right message for the right audience, and they want it to be articulated correctly. So I think that definitely communication is very strong for Drew Deener. Analytical is number 3. When people call in and they say things, he very quickly gets to where did they get that idea? What makes them think that? How are you backing it up? Why are you saying what you're saying? What sort of data, in a sense, do you have to back up what you're saying? Which is a very analytical approach to things. And when I was reading, I found an article from Wave 3 News, and they were talking to him about his transition from 790 WKRD to ESPN 680, which is where he is now on 93.9 The Ville. And the question was somewhat posed in what he thought, or how he thought, or if he thought his audience would follow him when he left from 790 WKRD to ESPN 680. And his response in the interview that was online is that it's just 11 clicks down the dial, which is, if you think about it, that had to be somewhat of a career move, something maybe he anticipated or planned for, but it was a major career move. And his response is, it's 11 clicks down the dial. So that the fact that he knew it was 11 clicks, the fact that that was his response in a highly emotionally charged possible moment. Again, I don't know the story, but that is an extremely analytical approach to an emotional issue. They're kind of unemotional in the face of chaos, or unemotional in the face of strong emotion, and they just look at the facts and they state them as they are. It's a very matter-of-fact way of dealing with situations. So I do think analytical is very strong for him. Competition, he does like to be first. He likes to win. He plays tennis a lot, and I think that many tennis rackets probably have fallen victim to his competition, if the stories that you hear are on the radio are correct. But he's always aware of who's first. There was a video of him from 2012, and I think he was talking for Trinity, where he graduated high school, and he made the comment in the video that had nothing to do with the video, that he should have been the first one to have been asked to do the video. I don't know what the story is, but he should have been first. I'm a big fan of Will Ferrell, so I watch Talladega Nights, and people of competition, that credo, if you're not first, you're last, is a very competition talent phrase. They like to win. They like to be first. They strive to be first. They're aware of who they're up against, and they do better than who they're up against. That's what competition is about. They're influential in that way. It's one of the influencing themes. People that are competitive drive teams. They work hard, they train hard, they're very motivating. And I would assume that competition is very strong because he's always looking up data and using that in a competitive way. So hear me out. He likes to play the game, how much are the tickets worth? So there's a game or there's an event, he'll hop on StubHub or whatever, and he'll try to guess what the price of going to that event is, which is just kind of a fun game, but it could be a fusing of analytical proof data, ticket stub prices, and competition. What's the most expensive? Can you guess it? Let's look at what the competition is with these seats. Maybe a stretch, but I do think that it's there. Activator. He does come across by way of listening to him and hearing what people say while on the show, that he has a little bit of an impatience. He self-disclosed just before the weekend that he doesn't like to play golf because he doesn't like waiting to find his ball while he's golfing, which is a very activator perspective of the sport of golf, I think. And he also doesn't want to go to the Kentucky Speedway because he's worried about waiting in line and getting stuck in traffic. Again, a very activator way of thinking about things. And he does seem to go quick. He wants things to be fast-paced. He wants to move on to the next thing. He doesn't want to sit around and chit-chat and somewhat beat a dead horse in a sense. Like, if it's been said, let's move on. The message is out there. He's good with that. What's next? So there's a very activator aura to just the tempo of his speech sometimes online or on radio. So, restorative communication, analytical competition activator. That's what I'm thinking his top 5 are. There are 2 that I think could be runners-up. On Tuesdays, he brings in Billy Reed, who has a very established career as a journalist and a sports analyst. He's done things on radio, on TV. His history is very, very strong. And he brings him on, and he likes to hear Billy Reed tell stories. And communication likes storytellers. He likes people talking about how things are. And Billy Reed's historical perspective, this happened in 1970-something, this happened in 1980, because Billy Reed was there for it. You can tell just listening to Drew Deener on the radio that he really likes those stories. There's a sense of the historical reverence of how things came to be the way that they are, which is context in a sense. He's also talking about in the history of Louisville, yada, 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 which is a possible mixture of his competition and his context. Where does this fit in the history of the sport? Where does this fit in the history of the city? He likes that discussion, and he enjoys understanding how things developed and came from certain places, and that is a context mindset. And last but not least, one of the ones that I think are a possible runner-up are developer. Now, this is a bit of a stretch, but there are a few things that I think make a very strong case for developer. One, Marcus Maben talks on his show about his mentor, and he talks about it affectionately so. My mentor, Drew Deener. So that tells me that Drew is investing time and energy into Marcus and his development and seeing potential and seeing these incremental changes in Marcus. I would assume for him to be so affectionate about calling him his mentor. And so I think that is a developer thing. Developers like to see people come to be the best that they are. They want to develop. They want to be a part of that process. And it's a relational theme because you got to get to know somebody a little bit to be able to do that. You've got to be able to see the potential in somebody. He also worked with Jared Stillman. The article I was watching called him not Jared Stillman, Justin or something. I think they got it wrong, but it is Jared Stillman, who's now in Nashville. But he was talking about that, and Jared, said that he's the best in the business. And in the quote that I saw online, I think that was the Louisville Cardinal, I think, online. But when asked about mentoring or helping Jared get better, Drew Deener simply used the word fulfilling, which is an incredibly developer way of looking at helping somebody grow. It is fulfilling to people. So I think that there's a chance the developer is pretty high for him. But I didn't have enough to really put it in the top 5, but I do think that there is some truth to that for Drew Deener. So anyway, restorative, communication, analytical, competition, and activator. And the 2 runners-up are context and developer. So anyway, that's just a fun way to think about it and look at it. If you have any questions, feel free to email me, djack at jackfundamentals.com. Find me on Facebook. Comment on the video. But anyway, thank you so much for listening. And Drew Deener, if you happen to see this and you take the test, shoot me an email. Let me know if I'm right or if I'm wrong. Thank you very much. Have a great day.